Hey, you guys, happy Tuesday. It's time for another episode of Anything But Average, Achieving Success in Life. Love to bring you these success stories every week. Thankfully, these are all really good friends of mine, so I'm totally blessed to know them. And today I have Javier with me. Javier, I met a couple of years ago. He's also in the real estate industry, and he's got a pretty cool backstory. So welcome, Javier.
Awesome. I appreciate you having me and giving me the opportunity to
No
share,
doubt.
my experiences with the world. So I want to talk a little bit about, my backstory so you guys can kind of understand where I've come from. I live in Central Florida market right now, born and raised in Miami, moved up to Ocala, Florida, which is like the horse capital of Florida. Pretty much nothing to do. It's the old fogies town, horse capital, people, pretty much all got, just a bunch of farms. And I went from Miami to Ocala. So I want everybody to think about that. And when I went to Ocala, I lived there for about 8-9 years. And I know you probably don't know Ocala, but you might. But it's a very, very slow little town. So basically, my point here is I went from Miami, Florida, to Ocala, which is 5 hours north of Miami. And I lost my mind. At the time, I wasn't the decision maker. My mom brought me there, and Miami is a little too, it was expensive for my mom, and she wanted to really own a home at the time. And I got to see my mom struggle growing up. Working multiple jobs to make ends meet. And I got to see that as a young kid. I didn't really have a father figure in my life, and that was an impact on me. And as a little boy, I was always a little entrepreneur spirited. It literally, like, I was the kid who saved up money to go to Walmart to get the Murray lawnmower and to door knock and try to mow lawns, like literally. And I did that. And I would undercut the lawn service guys who'd come by. And I was actually getting a lot of business. I was doing raking jobs. I was doing lawn mowing. I had a car wash business, and I did that. And even in Miami, when I was in Miami, I used to sell candy to the kids. I always had a entrepreneur, like, hustle mentality. And this was something like I was just like, it was just in my blood, and I actually used to, when I was in Miami, I had a golf ball reselling business. And that's basically me going to lakes with a golf ball retriever to fish out the balls. And
crazy.
I did all these little side hustles. And this was just as a little kid because, no one would hire me. I was not old enough. This was prior to me being 16 years old. I left Miami when I was 14, moved up to Ocala, Florida, to kind of, make the story a little shorter. When I moved up to Ocala, Florida, I actually worked in horse shows. I'm not sure if you knew that.
I did not know that.
I was a hay and feed boy. And basically, yeah, I worked at one of the biggest horse shows in Florida. It's called Hits. And anybody who rides horses, they know about Hits. The two biggest horse shows are in Wellington, Florida, and then Ocala, Florida. These are the two biggest horse shows. We have about 25 horses that come through that every year. So everybody who's probably knows me now, they're like, oh, man, who's a country boy? And so, yes, I guess I was. And, man, I did that for years, 5-6 years. I was pretty much a management position. I controlled all the hay and feed. I didn't ride any horses, by the way, guys. I didn't ride any horses, I promise. I was just in it for the money. I made like $12 an hour, and I had a company I worked for across the street from the horse show, which was a hay and feed company, and I worked for them as well. So that's why the horse show hired me, because they're like, man, this guy knows his stuff. He knows his alfalfa, his Timothy hay, his Bahia, Coastal. I mean, I knew all the products. So all the feeds. And so they hired me right away. They gave me I guess a good position at the time. I thought it's $12 an hour, and I was busting my butt for years, man, working high intensity labor jobs. Even before that, I was doing masonry work, doing a lot of outdoor work and just busting my butt, sweating in the heat. And I have respect for people who work outside in the heat, digging holes or anything that's like labor intensive with your hands. Like, I know what those people experienced, And so I basically felt like I maxed my potential out in Ocala, Florida. So I went from Miami to Ocala, and then I took the leap of faith and randomly moved to Orlando, Florida, which is about an hour south of Ocala. And I moved to Orlando, Florida. Again, I felt like I was in the same pitfall. I started here working a $12 an hour job, and I felt like I wasn't really getting anywhere, and I moved to a bigger city. So I felt like there was going to be bigger and better things here. And didn't know anybody here. I have a cousin that owns a company just on the outskirts of Orlando, and they have a lot of business in Orlando. And they hired me for $12 an hour. I was working 78 hours a week. but again, not even really breaking 1,000 after taxes.
Yep.
And I really was like in this pitfall where I couldn't max out my potential of making more than $12 an hour, doing all these high intensity labor jobs. And it got really stressful. I
How old
rented
were
a,
you then, Javier, at that time?
I moved to Orlando when I was about 24,
Okay.
24, 23-ish, 24. And again, didn't know anybody here. I rented out a bedroom for $400 a month. Okay. And when I rented the bedroom out, I had a roommate of mine whose mutual friend would come over. And this guy would always come over. He's got his nice laptop. He had a nice suit on all the time. And, I asked him what he did. And he's like, man, I'm a real estate agent. And then, I was already always a people person. I'm a really high energy individual. I'm a people person. I love people. I don't care what your personality is. Like, I love people. Like,
Yep.
I've always been that. And, he's like, hey, man, you should really get into this. And at that time, I was working that $12 an hour job. And I was working 70, 80-hour weeks. And I didn't really have time. And I was like, I really want to do this. He's like, man, you'd be really good at this. And at the time, he was working at Exit Realty Central. And he's like, man, you got to jump on board. So I was studying on my free time, right? Pretty much after work every day for the real estate course. Over in Florida, it's a 60-hour course.
Okay.
And that was about almost 6 years ago, 5.5, 6 years ago, when I first got my license. And I jumped into Exit Realty Central. My first real estate company I worked with was Exit Realty Central. I jumped in full time. I quit my $12 an hour job. I had about $16,000 saved. And I jumped in full time. I didn't even look back. I didn't try it part time. I didn't want to test the waters. I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this all, everything, right? So when I got in, I actually partnered with the person who brought me in, and we were buying leads. And we were buying leads online to start our business up. And I remember when I first started, people were like, oh man, online leads are no good, no good. And, you hear from everybody. And I didn't really listen to people. I was just like, let me try this out on my own. So I started my online leads, started with Zillow, built my whole entire real estate business up off of pretty much online leads. That's the way I wanted to approach my business. I knew that getting in, I had to be good at, one or two things, not more than that, right? So am I going to be a cold caller? Am I going to do open houses? Am I going to be the online lead master? How am I going to scale my business? How can I be good at one or two things? Not everything. I don't want to do everything, right? Which that's where a lot of agents mess up. They're just doing too much. So I wanted to be very specific on what I was doing and scaling my business at the time. And I was doing, Zillow leads and Realtor.com. But I really noticed getting in the business, I had a really big pitfall. And the pitfall, and this was another pitfall, was I felt like I was very transactional, which I was. I felt like I was only employed, until my next sale.
Yep.
And I figured out really quickly, I was like, man, this is taking 30, 45 days to get paid. I didn't close my first deal until 3 to 4 months into the business. So my partner at the time, he actually got into short-term rentals. He bought a home. It was like $200,000 at the time. He bought a home and he converted his garage into a living space. He made like a little studio and he put it on Airbnb. So it really caught my attention, spiked my interest, right? So I was thinking in my head, I was like, whoa, okay, this is something interesting, because we have so much tourism that come across our city, and we have about 75 million. This is prior to COVID that come across our city. And we're one of the number one, believe it or not, Orlando's like one of the number one tourist destinations in the world, right? I know it's just crazy. So, and then now Central Florida is now obviously getting a lot of people in it because everything that's going on. But I realized he told me, he said, man, I'm living for free and I'm renting this place out and it's paying all my mortgage. So I was like, whoa, you mean you're paying off your property, living for free? Well, this just sounds like way too good. So again, a year later, he picked up another property and he did the same thing. But the problem is, at the time, I got into real estate. I was a 1099 employee. No bank would qualify me. They wouldn't even look at me, right? Even if I had the money saved, they would not look at me. So I worked for 2 years as an agent. And basically what I did, I was like, you know what? I can get started in Airbnb without even owning a property. So what I did, I had an investor come across my desk, and I knew at some point I would have an investor come across my desk, wanting to get an investment property, right? Well, all these leads that had coming in and all these people I was in contact with, I knew I would have an investor, come across my desk at some point. And one did. And when one did, he's like, hey man, find me an investment property. I want to do a long-term rental with it. And at the time, this was about almost 5-6 years ago, I was like, you know what? Let's not do let's not do long term. Let's do a short term. He's like, Javier, this guy knows and likes and trusts me already. He's like, Javier, you do what you think is going to make me most money, right? He
Yep.
basically left the ball in my court and gave me the green light. I put his property on Airbnb, did not own it. I basically he started the profile on Airbnb and he put me as a co-host, right?
Okay.
And I was taking 15% of the gross revenue, right? It's anywhere between 15 to 30%. I've seen some co-hosts charge 30%, but I was just helping him basically I was piggybacking on his profile. And like if you go to this profile, you can see me on there. So it says he's the main host and I'm the co-host. So I'm helping him just, pretty much facilitate everything that's going on.
Okay, so stop right there. So basically you found him an investment property. In his mind, he's thinking of long-term rental, and you're like, no, I want to do short-term. And he's like, you handle it. So then you're on Airbnb and you're basically managing it, correct?
Yes. Yeah, I basically help him facilitate everything on it. It's hands off. He's like, hey, look, I'll pay you 15%. It started at 18%, but we've been working together on other deals. But I was like, he's like, I'll pay if you pretty much do everything. And that's what it's been, and I'm on the profiles and he's still the main profile account holder. And then I'm just on as a co-host. Airbnb has something that's called a co-host. Okay. So a lot of people, there's 3 ways to scale on Airbnb. And one of the ways is co-hosting, where you're pretty much just facilitating everything as bookings, check-ins, all that stuff. Then you could do rental arbitrage, where let's say Tricia has a property to rent out and she has it on the market, Zillow, MLS, whatever, and she's trying to rent it out long term for $1,500 a month. Well, I can now approach Tricia, excuse me, and now I can tie up that property, right? Obviously, I don't come up to her and just say, "Hey, I'm going to have an Airbnb," right? There's a specific sequence, right? There's specific. It's just like you're cold calling, right? There's a specific scripting that I'm going to say to you. Yeah. And basically, I'm going to tie your property up and you still own that asset. I'll just furnish it. And I have a special lease addendum where I'm subletting pretty much the property, and it discloses exactly what I'm doing. And I also disclose to you. So there's no hidden things. It's all disclosed, and you're going to sign off on it. And I'll sign your lease agreement as well. But then I put that property on Airbnb and run it, and it's just still your asset. And then the third way is, let's say Tricia went out and bought a property. She puts it on Airbnb, pretty much straightforward. So there's 3 ways to scale. Most commonly, people are doing either buying it and put it on Airbnb, or they're doing what's called rental arbitrage. And there's people I know that scale with rental arbitrage 60 to 70 properties, like a lot of properties.
Crazy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the cost, say, of option number 1 is nothing basically for you, right? You're a co-host.
Your time.
That's
it. Your time.
Option 2, what could somebody think about as like a cost to them?
Option 2 would be basically the rental arbitrage, where all they're doing is putting the deposits down, like if you rent the property, and then after that you furnish the property, and then you pay for the utilities and everything, right? Okay. And then option 3 being you're buying the property, right? Now you're putting your 15-20% down, and then you're running the obviously the furnishings and all that stuff there.
Okay, now how long have you been doing this Airbnb thing?
About 5 years.
Okay. So you've mastered it. I mean, if you guys y'all need to pay attention to Javier, because he has totally mastered. He's got a course on it and everything. But in the beginning, what are some of the things that you learned that you're like, now, gosh, I wish I wouldn't have done that?
But honestly, in the beginning, I wasn't automated in anything. Right, I was old school lockbox at the property. I was sending screenshots to my cleaners. I mean, these things. It doesn't sound like big things, but I'm going to rewind a little bit. The lockbox thing, people kept losing keys. The screenshot thing, every time I got a new booking, I would send a screenshot and send it to my cleaner. And then they wouldn't clean the property because sometimes I forgot to send it to them, right? I was with family and friends. Because you look at your phone, you're like, okay, you acknowledge the booking, but then you forget to send that code to them. I was doing all the direct messaging, handling everything, right? And it was very hands-on, doing the shopping, doing everything. But now that I don't do that anymore, I have it leveraged, right? Because I know where my time's best spent, right? And I still sell real estate full time till today. I run a 100% referral based business. And that's what has allowed me to. But I want to actually rewind a little bit. What really got me into it was not just my partner actually getting into this. I kind of got to see the structure of things and how it was working for him. But I wanted to solve a problem in real estate at the time. And one of the problems I want to solve was being transactional, being uncertain on where my next closing was coming from. If the next closing was going to happen 30, 45 days later, where am I going to get my next lead from? All these uncertainty things. And I'm sure every agent thinks about it, right?
Yeah.
Even if we sell 100 homes, 20 homes, 5 homes, we're only as good as our next sale. And this goes back to when I was a little boy. I was an entrepreneur. I always had that spirit in me. So I was like, you know what? I want to be able to take a piece of the pie of the revenue that comes through, the Central Florida market with all this tourism. How can I take a piece of the pie? So Airbnb was able to, and VRBO was able to solve that problem for me. I didn't have to worry about counting out every single transaction. I didn't have to worry about being uncertain on things and stuff like that, chasing leads down, right? We all know, especially with these online leads, you're chasing them down. I felt like I was playing investigator as an agent, and it can get stressful. I mean,
Yes.
And the reality of it is that's the way it is. And most agents, they are, having to spend hours and hours of prospecting, and it can become very overwhelming. So this was one of the ways that I was able to, solve those problems. But here's the best thing about it, Tricia, is we're in a network as real estate agents. Why aren't we capitalizing on the deals that are coming across our desk? It could be a flip. It could be a great buy and hold. It can be a great Airbnb property. Why are we constantly selling out to the general public, right? We're making other people rich all the time, right? Especially real estate agents who always work with investors. Why not capitalize on it and buy the deal and take advantage of yourself? We get paid to buy homes. Why not take advantage of that, right?
Yeah.
I'm closing on a property this Friday. I got the seller paying all my closing costs, and I'm getting a 3% commission. I'm literally walking in this home with like $7,000, right?
Nice, yes.
And very, very minimal, right? Versus other people are gonna have to pay, thousands and thousands of dollars. Why not? I told myself, I was like, I don't have to chase people down, because eventually an investor is going to come across my desk. I was on a live call with a student yesterday. And I got him doing 5 Airbnbs right now. He's been in the business 60 days. He's about at $6,000 for one listing. And he took advantage of the property he's putting all the Airbnbs on, which is a quadplex. And that quadplex, how he got it, he had an ISA calling to get listings, right? And he instead of taking that listing, he bought it himself.
Yep.
Literally. He bought it himself. This is a deal that came across his desk. So what I like to tell agents is, think about the deals that come across your desk. Start analyzing them, right? Start seeing if you can maybe flip it, right? And make 30, 40, 50 grand on it versus a $7,000 commission. Maybe it could be a good Airbnb. Maybe it can be a good buy and hold, right? How can you analyze this deal and to see if it can make you more money than that one-time commission? Because I like to look at the big picture. And not only that, I'm creating assets. So one of my goals is actually, and I've been doing this for about 3 years now, I at least buy one asset every year, one property.
I love that.
One property. And I live a very simplistic life. I'm literally actually sitting in one of my duplexes right now. It's 800 square foot. Okay. I'm pretty much debt free. And I get it. Everybody's on a different wavelength. I get it. Some people have student loan debt. You have to gradually build yourself there. Remember, I didn't get in the industry, millionaire. I got in. I had to work 2 years before the banks would even trust me, right? I gradually got there, right? So if I can do it, I know everybody else watching this can do it. So you have to take baby steps. It's not an overnight process. Everything that I've done, it didn't come easy, guys. So if you think it's going to come easy, then it's not for you,
No.
So this is pretty much like the gist of things on, why Airbnb solved the problems I'm solved. And now I'm still selling real estate full time. I'm going to do probably about 30 deals this year with my other businesses that I have, right?
Yep.
Other streams of income that I have, right?
Yep.
So that's pretty much like where I've like really have catapulted and how I catapulted my Airbnb business.
Now, there's some challenges in different cities, of course, where there's neighborhoods and different communities that they don't allow that. It's written in the deed restrictions. It's written in the bylaws everywhere. What's the workaround, or how could somebody protect themselves?
So I actually did a video on this. I stay away from HOAs.
Okay.
I personally wouldn't even if I wasn't doing Airbnb, I wouldn't even buy it. I hate HOAs. I hate them. I literally do. Now I get it. There are pros on HOAs, but I just personally, again, me as an investor, I don't like buying HOAs. Second of all, if you're looking into new markets, I did a video on this recently, guys. If you guys go to my page, I did a video on how to research different markets. It's very quick. So if you go to verlio.com. Okay. And I can put the links here after we're done with the chat. But if you guys go to verlio.com, it's basically the platform like Zillow, right? I always call it, it's like the Zillow for short-term rentals. So you're going to see a ton of short-term rentals on there for sale. But the good thing is they have an ROI calculator. They have tons of resources like the ROI calculator. They have the regulations for each little area. They have everything color coded for you. They have it. It's so green means it's a short-term rental friendly area. Red means there are some yellow means there's like, it's like the stoplights. Yellow means there are some stipulations, and then red means stop. They don't allow short-term rentals there. So I can specifically, let's say I don't know anything about your market, Tricia. If I wanted to go right now, I can research it within minutes, right? And the beautiful thing about it is I always say verify the information that's online, right? And basically they'll have, when you click on zone or for each property, because the properties on there, I've looked at them already. They're like $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, and up. They're very high end. I don't know if that's like their niche, but I use that website for their resources. So what I'll do is, let's say I see a market that I'm researching it, right? So I'm working with a client down in Pompano Beach right now, and that's about 3 hours away from me. So that area, it shows green everywhere. So I clicked on one of the green dots, and it actually pulls up. It says zone. You click on that zone. It has the city's number. It has the city's email. It's got. It even takes you. It's also got broken down. If there's a short-term rental application you have to fill out, boom, it has that. It has the Better Business Bureau there, boom, there. It also has the website of the city, and it'll take you right to the section that it talks about short-term regulations. That way, you guys can do your research, and you know you're in compliant with the ordinances if there is any, right? And it's as simple as that. And once you start getting your rhythm, especially you found an area that's really hot for short-term rentals, you're not going to have to do that step anymore because you've educated yourself already. Right. But if you're looking at new markets, you're going to go to verlio.com, look at what the stipulations are for each market, because guys, you guys don't want to break the rules. I can tell you right now, you're going to get shut down. Right. You break the rules, you're going to have a tough time. But I will say my first property I ever bought was in a highly regulated area, which was a duplex. It's in the city of Orlando, where they only allow you to do 50% of the property. So if you own a duplex, you can do one half the duplex, and the other half you have to live on. Right? They want somebody there to host the guests and court. Gotcha. Right? That's what they say. And this regulation actually came out in 2018. And just, so people understand, regulations are always changing, right? Yeah. I can't predict, if they're going to change, but I'm glad I bought that duplex because I would have missed out on something very, very, very special. That duplex, I bought it, I think 2-3 years ago, $270. It's now worth $350,000. So there's the appreciation. Yeah, I already capitalized on appreciation. One side breaks me $2,500 a month. The other side I live on, which I'm sitting in now, and they're about 800 square foot units, 2-bedroom, 1 bath. And I rent out a bedroom for $825, right? Literally, you guys are probably like, man, this guy's like trying to make money all types of ways. But I call myself a master house hacker, right? But I looked at the regulations and I didn't say like, hey, you know what? The regulations here are very strict. I'm not going to buy that deal. No, I was like, you know what? I could still make this work. So basically my point here, guys, is if you see regulations are tight, look at the property that you want to analyze. Maybe it will work out, right? And in this case, it did work out for me. So I could have missed out on this deal and walked, right? But I didn't. I bought the deal. At the time, I bought it with an FHA loan, 3.5% down. Let me say this again, 3.5% down. FHA, you can buy a duplex. I bought, and obviously you can only have one FHA, but that was my first loan after I got qualified for 2 years. 2 years, I worked hard.
Wow.
They approved me. My first property was an FHA duplex, Airbnb one half, bringing in $2,500 to $3,500 on one side. The other side brought me $825. And it's appreciation, and I'm living for free.
That's insane.
I mean, guys, come on. I mean, I want people to get a little bit creative. I want people to start analyzing the deals that are coming across your desk because, again, and I'm sure, there's tons of properties that we all have come across our desks as an agent. Yep. And maybe get creative. Maybe you're in a standpoint where you're like, well, I don't have the capital, but maybe can you partner with somebody? Is there some way you can get an equity position in it? Don't give up, right? Yeah, sometimes you have to get creative. And real estate, there's more than one ways to skin the cat, guys. So,
So how hard was it for you to find financing? I know you did that FHA in the first one, or for your partners, a lot of people that you've worked with, have you guys went to hard money lenders?
No, you don't typically
Okay.
do. You don't do hard money with buy and holds.
Okay.
You could do non-Q&M loans, right? Not that
Mhm.
are impacting Freddie and Fannie, but like
Yep.
I just closed on a property with a gentleman. He did 15% down.
Okay.
He did regular conventional 15% down. Most of the people I deal with that are buying, they'll do like 15, 20% down on the property,
Okay. And
right? But
so for people that are looking to get into it, like your properties, you've been doing it for a while now. When you look at a track record, what can you kind of expect for a vacancy rate or an occupancy rate? What do you think is the norm?
my norm, each nine. I made a post this the other day. My norm literally is 90+% occupancy, right?
Crazy.
It's crazy
Mhm.
because here's the thing: my properties are strategically located. So when I analyze a market, I don't want a market that just like, for instance, I don't want a market for that only brings in people in that market like maybe 6 months out of the year. You
Yeah.
want a market that's bringing all people in for all different reasons, right? Is it conventions? Is it sports events? Is it beaches? Is it mountains?
Hmm.
How can you tie in multiple things? Be in a market where there's a lot of numerous things that bring people around. So my property, when I'm picking the property, I want to make sure I'm picking in an area where it's just not buy one thing that's just bringing people in, and that might bring that. It's like a seasonality, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
my occupancy rates are, I actually have on one of my properties right now, I have 100% occupancy rate in September. August to September for the area I'm in prior to COVID are the slowest times of year to be on Airbnb. But I have
Really?
actually, I have 100% occupancy rate. When a lot of people don't realize the properties that are actually have gotten an influx in bookings right now are beach towns and mountains,
Okay.
because everybody's trying to get away and escape and be, away from people,
Yeah.
So those
So
those
when
are
COVID hit, how did that affect your business? Did it shut you down?
nope. So in my area, at the time, if you had guests in your properties, they can stay.
Okay.
For about, I think it was 30 or 60 days, you weren't able to get new bookings.
Okay.
Okay. So I did get an impact around, it was like 30 or 60 days, but I never, and here's the beauty about this, a lot of short-term rental hosts, they got scared. They jumped out right away. And which was good for me because less supply and higher demand, I'm able to stay more. My occupancy rates are able to stay higher, and I'm also able to, maintain my nightly rate.
Yeah.
So I did get affected for very little bit. They weren't allowing us to take new bookings.
Okay.
I think it was like 30, 60 days, something like that, when it first hit. But everything, moving forward was, I got a lot of cancellations. Oh, that's another thing I meant to mention. Almost every single booking for that. Right when COVID hit, everybody's paranoid. About 90 days in the future, all my bookings were pretty much deleted because
Yep.
people were just canceled. And the problem is I had to give people full refunds. Airbnb made us, right?
Mhm.
So it was really, really, it did hit hard. But when they made the stipulation, they were actually allowing us to host first responders, anybody who's an essential worker, and if
Nice.
yes, they did allow it, because what happened was a lot of first responders or doctors wanted to stay away from their families because they're in the hospitals a lot. They didn't want to infect their families, or for instance, first responders were coming into the local city to assist hospitals, because the travel nursing, when this happened, blew up,
Yeah.
right? New York was paying premiums for nurses. If you traveled out there, right? So people needed help with staff. So those first responders needed places to stay. So I did get a couple first responders on the property. I was able to accept them. All I had to do is ask for proof, the ID, verify that they are a first responder. There was protocol I had to take. But moving right now, I mean, pretty much in my market, banks are open, all theme parks are open.
Mhm.
Sports events, like concerts, are starting to kind of, start opening back
Yeah.
up. Pretty much everything in the Orlando market, in Central Florida, actually, because I go to Tampa a lot as well. Pretty much everything's open. I'm actually seeing some restaurants at, I think, 75% occupancy. Last week they just opened up bars here. They just
Yeah.
opened up bars.
Oh
Our
yeah.
bars are open. I'm pretty sure you don't even have to wear a face mask in the bar.
No.
So we're pretty much kind of getting rocking and rolling again here. But
Now for people, because I've heard this from people that stay in Airbnbs, sometimes you get into one that's not so clean. And so sometimes there's a little bit of that stigmatism that they're pretty much they're not as clean as hotels. What's your feedback on that one?
Well, if you're going to book an Airbnb, I always recommend you can filter through Airbnb through the results on as superhosts. So superhosts are somebody who's got a top tier rating, which is 4.8 stars or above.
Okay.
So we get rated as hosts. So they're skin in the game for me. It's not like I could just run an Airbnb business and just do what I want.
Right.
I have to have certain rate and response rate, cleanliness. I mean, they rate me on all types of stuff. So once a quarter, they do an evaluation on each host. So I would say if you're one of those people, you're like, I'm a little bit afraid. You can do two things. You can search. They have an enhanced cleaning filter now on Airbnb.
I was going to ask that.
Yes, they have an enhanced cleaning filter where you can now filter through properties that have an enhanced cleaning, meaning that they have to wait, I believe, 24 hours after each booking before they allow another person to book. And they have to take a certain protocol and cleaning. Or you can also filter through Superhosts, which are top tier hosts on the platform. They have the highest response rates. They have the highest rating reviews, and which are 4.8 stars or above. So that's pretty much if you're worried about that.
So for somebody getting into this business from the very beginning, if you're going to buy the property, you got to have your down payment. Then you've got to have furnishings, right? You bought a house full of furniture. Yep. Any other expenses up front?
Depending on the property, but yeah, your furniture, all your amenities.
Okay.
So like I have a furniture and product list that I have built out. I have a whole entire amenity list that I have built out. That way you guys don't have to think about
Yes.
You know, the wine opener, the can opener, the I mean, the saucepan, all these little things. But for each property, I always tell people, I mean, if you use my furniture and product list, you can do like a two bedroom, two bath house for like $6,500 in furnishings and amenities, everything. 3 bedroom, you're going to be closer to $10K. If you're using my furniture product list, you can go out and spend $30K on a 3 bedroom, right?
It's easier. You've already figured it out,
Yeah. So because I get all my stuff, guys, is all delivered through third-party sites like Wayfair, Amazon. Yep. And basically what I do is before I start my properties, and I'm not going to go too in depth with this because this is going to be obsolete for people who don't even have an Airbnb, but just really quick, I get some ideas off of like Pinterest. I'll go on there, I'll type in like modern home, and I get ideas off of it, and then I purchase those products. Off of like Amazon, Wayfair, and stuff like that. But I can pretty much furnish a whole house online in about an hour and a half, because all the clickable links are there, and I just click, add to the cart, click, add to the cart, click, add to the cart. Because it's, after a while, I used to not do that, and that's again that like I made a lot of things were costing me a lot of time, and I wasn't automated. But now I'm 100% fully automated. I've been automated for a few years now, but I wasn't automated. I was so hands-on with the business. But now I've pretty much cracked the code, and I know the best systems that are out there for pricing. I know the best systems that are out there for messaging. I know the best systems that are out there for cleaning, right? Because I manage all my stuff pretty much, and I outsource all my stuff. It's just like us as realtors, right? There's a lot of tasks you can outsource. Like if you don't have a TC, get a TC. You shouldn't be doing paperwork, right? You're most productive, with a buyer or list, prospecting or doing a listing appointment. That's your most dollar productive activity you're doing as an agent. If you're not doing those things, you're losing money. You don't do the $10 an hour work. It's the same thing applies with any business. First of all, if you're really looking to scale it, and then same thing with Airbnb. You don't want to do the $10 an hour work because if you're doing the $10 an hour work, you're not gonna. It's gonna take so much distraction away. So the key thing here is when you get started to automate the business. That way you don't have to worry about being there every 2 seconds, checking up on the property, cleaning the property, messaging, passing out keys. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I can go on because there's so many moving parts, but
But in the beginning, you probably put in a lot more time than you're doing now, correct?
I did a lot more time. Like I said, I wasn't automated. I was always at my properties, and it really took a lot of focus off of me selling real estate. Like I said, my bread and butter was to sell real estate because I knew real estate. I love selling real estate. I'm a people person, but I knew real estate. I could build a lot of capital. Right? Yeah. We're making all this money. What are we doing with it? Is the question, right? Right? If you want to, again, everybody's got a different goal. I'm not saying, hey, everybody wants to be like Javier and make passive income. Maybe some people don't. Maybe some people are happy at 50 grand. Maybe some people are happy at 100 grand. I don't know, but you guys got to identify you guys itself. What's your goal? Is it making passive income? If it's making passive income, or do you want to start another business? But I knew real estate, I can build a lot of capital through it. I was a people person. I am a people person. and just two top things tied, and the money, all my commission checks, I literally keep. I always tell people, keep the money moving. The money isn't working, it's not moving. If it's not moving, it's not working, right? So keep the money moving. Keep the money moving. So that was my biggest thing for with money. Like if it's sitting in my bank account, I get a little frustrated. It sounds funny, but it's just not doing nothing for me. The banks are making money on my money, right?
Yes.
That kind of frustrates me. I'm like,
So how many properties have you acquired now?
I have 13 right now, and I do about $250,000 to $300,000 per year. This year I'll be on track for about $250,000 in gross revenue, just off Airbnb.
Isn't that crazy? And how many hours a week do you think you dedicate to it at this point?
I would say maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe.
Y'all hear that?
Yeah, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. Because again, guys, I'm not doing the cleanings. I'm not sitting here micromanaging my messages, right? The only time, like for instance, my business is run off of this, guys. We all have this in our cell phone.
Yep.
Right? On our hands, excuse me. So I run my whole entire business off of my cell phone, right? So I'm not doing all the little tasks. I used to do the shopping and take out the trash. I have all that on my cleaners are what I call master cleaners. They do not just clean my properties. They do all the heavy lifting for taking out the trash, shopping, all the stuff, all the little stuff, even put my furniture together. I have a team. So when I get a new property, I can have everything delivered to the property. Remember, guys, I'm using third-party sites. Okay. And I don't want to go too far in this because people are like, I don't even have a property. This doesn't mean nothing to me. But I used to through third-party sites. It all gets delivered. I used to rent U-Haul trucks and drive around and pick up furniture, and that was time consuming. So I wanted to streamline the process as much. But what's going to be more informative is the best way how you get going. How you get going, think about it, guys. If you're a realtor, start studying the market, what markets you really want to invest into. And that way you can start seeing if you have a deal come across your desk. Start paying attention to my videos. And again, I'm going to drop some links in there for you guys.
Yes.
Start paying attention to my videos. That way you can know, you first of all, you have to learn how to analyze a property. So if you watch the videos that I put up that I've done in the group, and I'll add all the links, but you can start seeing like, okay, I go to vertigo.com and I take you step by step. That way you guys can say, okay, now I can analyze property. But you can get started with easy as an investor coming across your desk and saying, hey, I want to buy a property, and you live in an area that allows for short-term rental, and why not, get a piece of the pie,
Right.
And it's deals that are coming across your desk. You're not out chasing them, especially some agents work with heavy investors, a lot of investors. And that's another thing. You might have an investor that you do rentals for. Here's another catch. You might have an investor you always do rentals for. Maybe he needs now to put a new tenant in the property. Well, now, if you know the property can be Airbnb worthy, you could put a tenant in there you could be that tenant in Airbnb if obviously the property makes sense, right? Yeah. Instead of bringing a whole other renter in. Because again, people know, like, and trust us, right? They're going to do business with who they know, like, and trust. So if they know, like, and trust you, and you tell them, hey, well, I'll be your tenant, right? I'm telling you, they're not going to second guess them. You're making the money, you've gotten them investments. They're going to, oh wow, really? So
yeah, you're guaranteeing the rent.
Right. I want you to think about: are you going to buy the property and put it on Airbnb in an area that allows it? Are you going to co-host with an owner, or maybe an owner already who's got a short-term rental? Maybe they're struggling or they want more free time. Or you're going to do a rental arbitrage model, right? Where, let's say, Bob's renting out the property for $1,500 a month, and you tie up that property with a special lease addendum, and you now put Airbnb furniture in it, and you put it on Airbnb and VRBO, right? How are you guys going to scale? Which one of those three fits your your finances, right? Because again, here's another thing. Everybody's got a different amount of money. So
you put them on both sites, Airbnb and VRBO.
Oh yeah. You want to get the most exposed. Yeah, I'm an Airbnb and a VRBO host. When prior to the pandemic, I was 100% all Airbnb. When the pandemic happened, I put myself on VRBO just to have some more exposure. At the time, Airbnb kept me super busy, and I would say about almost 99% of my bookings still come from Airbnb. But I still want to be on a platform just to fill in, a few extra days. Like right now, I got
like 2 and 3 month rentals.
Nah, not really. Okay. Most people are coming for 2-3 nights.
Okay.
The most I get are like two weeks at a time. But so on my criteria when people are booking, I have my bookings. I allow anything from a day, right, to pretty much a month, right?
Yeah.
You can put it on there where you only allow 30 days, right? So you're kind of targeting that market. So my market is pretty much people going anywhere between 1 to 5 days, but I do get 2-weekers all the time. People will stay for 2 weeks. I got a property right now. The one that I said 100% occupied, those were people with two, 3 guests that were there for like a week and a half each, and they're there for some time. But it all differs. But yeah, I highly recommend, depending on what market you're in. Yeah, go on VRBO as well. So it's just a channel.
Goal? How many properties do you want? What's your goal?
I probably want to say around 20, 25, somewhere around there. Eventually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to get like an assistant to help manage, right? Because right now, you can do 13, and like I said, I'm around like 250. I'll be on pace for, I think, 250 this year in gross income. And again, remember, guys, this is my side hustle. This is not including my real estate. I'll do another over $100,000 in real estate sales, right?
Yep.
But I would say about 20. I'll probably bring somebody in and like literally leverage the whole entire thing and not be involved. The only time I get involved is like, hey, the AC went down, I'll troubleshoot it, right? Because here's the thing. You got to be careful, because if somebody says, like, I'll make an example. One time I got somebody say, oh man, your water's not hot. And I have a tankless water heater. Somebody shut my tankless water heater off, right? It's an electric water heater. Somebody shut it off. I don't know if it was one of the guests, it probably was, but they shut it off, and it was easy as literally turn it back on. Now I could have made a call to a plumber and have paid a service fee of $80, right? So, a lot of times, like, I only get involved with resolutions or like curveball questions somebody might have to the property, because everything gets facilitated through my phone. I get to see exactly the activity at each property. I can monitor everything from my phone. My properties, I can see them physically. I can monitor what's going on, when my cleaners start, what messages are going out, what messages are coming in, all that stuff. And I can also see what revenue and all that stuff. So, I only get involved for, catastrophic stuff. I would say probably, answer your question, probably around 20 or so. Because again, I am looking to, I have other businesses too. I have the B&B accelerator as well. And I'm a type of person, I don't want to spread myself too thin,
Yes.
And I want to make sure I'm good at everything I'm doing. I don't want to be the person where, I have 3, 4 sources of income, but they're like kind of up and down, right? I want to make sure they're stable, they're rocking and rolling, right? And I'm dedicated to them, right? Because when you do too many things, you spread yourself thin. If you don't have somebody running that who's as efficient as you are, which no one's going to really take care of your business like it's theirs, right? But I found, and I've seen friends of mine who've tried to do too many businesses, and it just doesn't work out. So, it's a passive income business for me, semi-passive, where I'm not really, doing anything, and it's just, pretty much running itself.
No, it's a lot more solid of an investment as like the stock market. That thing is up and down like a roller coaster,
Yeah. But see, here's the thing, like, same thing, like, the stock market, but I have some money in stocks, right?
Sure.
Like, right. I like to diversify.
Investment though,
Yeah, I always tell people, and I'm sure everybody's heard this pretty much one time in their life, diversify your portfolio. You can have still some long term, you can have some short term, you can have some money in the stock market, you can have, just, that way your eggs are in one basket. You're not just counting on one source of income. You don't want to be relying on one source of income. And that's one thing I wanted to solve. I wanted not to be so reliant on one source of income and just be so strapped. Now, like I said, honestly, real estate's changed my life. It's really changed my life. Now that I'm able to make all that passive income, not during COVID, but I've been traveling the world. I've been to 15 countries in the past 3 years.
I know, I've been watching you. It's crazy. I love it.
Yeah, I actually had a Europe trip in all of August. I was going to Iceland. I was going to New Zealand. I was going all over Europe for a whole month. So I'm running my businesses, from overseas.
Yeah.
I would be out on vacation actually right now. So I usually do about 5 trips a year. And that's actually another my goals. So me buy one asset and do about 5 trips a year. I like to enjoy myself as much as, I like to make money. And this is very important, guys. It's cool to make money, but don't give your life up, right?
Nope.
We got to make sure we enjoy it with our family, our friends. These things are important, guys. So this is one thing also that has solved the problem with me, and it did a number of things for me, right? The short-term rental business did. It did a number of things where I was able to solve these issues. So, I'm excited.
And it too, Javier, it's like when you're in selling real estate, you're just as good as your next transaction, like you said. But what you're doing is you're creating wealth. So, God forbid if something ever happened to you, you could leave this to someone. You know, you can't leave a real estate transaction to somebody. It's done. It's over.
Yeah.
There's
Exactly.
nothing.
And I don't, and you know, really that applies if you sell 100 homes a year, 300 homes a
Right.
year, 500 homes a year. I don't care how many homes you sell, right? You are a transactional person, right? You are only as good as your next sale. You're only making money until your next sale, right?
Yep.
Why do you think most agents, if you notice, most agents have other sources of income?
You
Most
have
of them. I guarantee most of them have other sources of income because
you have to.
they know, right? I mean, so it's like, you know, that's one reason why I want to do it. And I still start real estate full time. Don't get me wrong. I love real estate,
Right.
and I love people, and I still love doing it. But I was able to alleviate a lot of my pain points. And my pain points were the 45 days. Is this thing going to close?
Right.
Or am I? I just not kidding you, Tricia. I used to spend $5,000 a month on Zillow leads, right? And I know a lot of people know if you're watching this. I started with Zillow when it was like $20 a lead, and this was about 5-6 years ago. Now, in my market, I know it's per zip code, but you're looking at average like $70, $80 per inquiry. And it's like, whoa, whoa.
And
You know,
now,
so
Javier, how much are you spending on leads?
I spend zero. I
Yep,
spend
that's
zero. I'm 100%. Because here's the thing, guys. You know, I'm niched. I'm very niched. If any agent, right, there's about 20,000 agents on my board in my market. If they think about Airbnb, they call me right up. I'm serious, and they just send me the referral. They don't even try to deal with themselves. And this the B&B Accelerator, my course business complements my real estate business. So I'm not having to chase people down. I'm actually one thing that really stressed me out was buying leads, but constantly getting the runaround from people. Man, it's like, oh God, like, you know, I love people. But it's like, you know, get the runner, or here's the thing, or you show somebody a home, or you're dealing with or go on a listing appointment, and they just can't be truthful, right? They can't just say, hey, you know, we hired another agent, or hey, we're no longer looking. It's like you spent your time. I just feel like, you know, they just don't value me, you know. So, you know, I wanted to solve that problem, you know, as well. So, you know,
a lot of people get into a business like yours, you know, to pay all their bills. They're like, I want all my bills paid passively. And that way that relieves a lot of that stress, like you were just saying, which you've done more than that now. You know, you've got a very minimalistic bills there every month, and you've got this passive income that just keeps growing.
If I can give, again, this is contingent upon whatever situation you're in. If I can give any advice to somebody who's watching this right now, I just turned 30 years old, right? I just turned 30 years old.
Wow.
I have been living a simplistic life my whole entire life. I could have went out and bought the Maserati or the Porsche, or, you know, I could have bought a really fancy car, but I didn't want to raise my debt to income ratios. And I knew one thing was important in this world is credit and income. Right?
Yep.
That's what this world's based on. You have to have good credit. You have to have good income, right?
Yep.
And I knew that if I wanted to scale to where I'm at, that I knew I needed to claim money on the taxes. I knew I needed to keep my debts low, right?
Yep.
All that stuff. It's not like, hey, I haven't ever been in debt before, guys. I'm a human just like you guys. But if I could give any advice, if you're like me, if you're not married, you don't have kids, right? Obviously, if you're making a lot of money, you know, it's got to go to your family and stuff like that. But if you're maybe in a very similar position to me, I'm not saying if you're married you can't do this, but you can just live a simplistic life. You don't have to go out. I could have bought a 4,000 square foot home. I didn't do that. I made sacrifices. I'm literally sitting in an 800 square foot duplex. And you might pull up to my yard. And you might be like, oh man, this guy's got no money, or, you know, you might judge me really quick. But here's the thing: I'm living this lifestyle free because everybody knows, right? Before I lived here, I was spending like $30K a year on rent, right?
Yep, you're living the high life.
And think about that, right? So now I'm able to save that rent money, right? All that money I was spending on rent. I own my vehicle. Literally, I have really minimal cost, right?
Yeah. And you're traveling like crazy, and you're acquiring properties that are.
That's why I'm able to travel back so much. That's why I'm able to travel. Just so people. So I would get, you know, anybody who's watching this, and if you're in a pretty similar situation like me, you know, just, and you're, even if you're just getting going, you know, just.
I lost you for a second. Where are you at?
Oh,
there you are. Lost you.
I think that was my internet. I don't know why, but
I was like, where'd you go? You're frozen and then you were gone.
I'm sorry about that, but
no worries.
Yeah, it takes, getting back to where I was, it takes sacrifice, dedication. And actually, Tricia, I would like to say, I watched your story. It was very inspiring. I like
Oh, thank you.
I did. I love it. You've always been a very sincere individual. I love your energy. I know you're a hard worker. You've been through a lot, and you know what I'm talking about right now.
Oh, yeah.
And same thing, Tricia. She's a mom to some beautiful children, and she started from nothing. If she can do it, married and having all this overhead, and it can be done. But
It can be done. Anybody can do it. You just have to put in
right.
the work. Do the work.
You got to put in the work, and most people aren't willing to put in the work.
Nope.
Unfortunately, and that's why most people aren't willing to get the results at the gym. Right? They'll go 1 week and they'll quit. Right? It's the same thing like what I'm doing. It takes work. It takes dedication, and most people won't do it. And that's the God's honest truth.
It is. Hey, Javier, one of the things I think is the greatest thing is, number one, that you've got these years of experience, that you've mastered it now. Like, you've made mistakes and you're actually willing to guide people and help people so they don't go through what you went through. They can have it much easier. Tell people a little bit about that, please.
Yeah. So basically what I've done is over the years, is so many people have reached out to me and they want to take me to lunch to pick my brain on how to do this with their Airbnb and how to do that and how to do this and how to do that. And it became very time consuming. So during the pandemic time, what I did is I partnered up with I have one partner in the company that owns it with me. What I did was I created a 7-week course where it takes you from A to Z on any way you want to scale on Airbnb, on how to scale on Airbnb, how to find the research of properties, how to furnish the homes, how to automate everything from A to Z. So it takes you the simplistic process on how to really get the results and achieve the results that I achieved. The exact step by steps, everything that I'm using, everything that I'm researching, it's all in there. So I've created a course which is called now the B&B Accelerator, and now pretty much I'm an Airbnb coach, and I coach people on how to Airbnb. So
and even your shopping list is in there that you were talking about.
Yeah, everything. I mean, I got everything, everything in there. I've gotten, I have I'm saying about almost 20 students now. I've gotten great feedback from them. I got a couple of them going right now on Airbnb, and I love seeing other people, achieve the success. The interview I did last night with Mike, he's actually a realtor. 60 days, and he's already at 6K, right? He literally, the quadplex he already owned. One of the units, he's like, let me try it out. Let me put the one on Airbnb. He did. He gave me a call. I'm not even kidding. About a month later, he's like, man, I want to put 5 more on that I have. So he put the rest of the quadplex on. It's actually in the stages right now. He's putting the rest of them on, right? Because it was perfect timing because all his long-term tenants were moving out. Or here's another thing. Some of his long-term tenants weren't paying him and he had to kick them out. And it was like kind of 50-50 there. Because again, for COVID or one guy was like a bartender and he couldn't pay him. So it kind of worked out in his favor. But here's what solved his problem, right? Now he owns these properties. He doesn't have to worry about getting rent not coming in, right? He's getting paid in 24 hours after a guest checks in. He's now having to worry about all this wear and tear in his property. People were wearing, he had problems with boyfriends and girlfriends fighting at properties, kicking doors down, cops coming to the property because there's been a domestic dispute where he doesn't have to worry about any of that now, right? Now he gets to have his property turned every few days, right? So if there is an issue with the property, it can be remedied right away, and most likely it's going to be paid by the guest, right? Because here's the thing: if somebody destroys something and it's costly, I'll make a resolution on Airbnb and I'll get paid. We have a $1 million policy every guest that checks in, right?
Okay.
$1 million. Every time a guest checks in, we're insured for up to $1 million for Airbnb, right?
Good.
And you can also do, if you want to being extra careful, you can also put a policy on your property, which is about, depending on the property. I see what a 3-2 single family, and I'm sure every market's different, but it's about $150 a month policy. And this is also a short-term rental policy. If you want to go a step above, you can.
Wow.
But we're not paying for any of the stuff that happens that is catastrophic. Honestly, the most I've had done is somebody party at my property. But here's another thing. You asked me earlier in the interview, what have you done different? So now how I've cut down on properties is I have now what is called a noise awareness device that I have disclosed where it counts decimal counts in the property. I'm not kidding. It looks like a smoke detector, and you put it in a centrally located part of the property. You disclose it to the guest, obviously, just like there's on-site security cameras. You also disclose that to the guest, and we know if the decimal count, how high it is. And we know if there's a party, because guess what? We have a ring, we have the doorbell, the
Yes.
camera, we have the cameras around the house. If we need to look and look at a property really quick in seconds, we can check our cameras. Boom, what's going on? And here's the beautiful thing about it. Everything is time stamped, right? Because obviously I can't just go to Airbnb and say, hey, give me $4,000, right?
Right.
I have to have documentation and everything, right? So everything's time stamped. I got the decimal counts. Here's the damage. Here's the invoice. Boom. And it takes about, it could take up to a week for them to pay you, but you get paid out, So
But again, you sat there, you've got a system in place for everything.
Yeah. And it's not coming out of my pocket. It's coming out of Airbnb's pocket or the guest's pocket. So, and here's the gist of things. Most long-term landlords, okay, and I know this by selling real estate. I see people buy $250,000 to $350,000 to make like $300 net a month.
Yes.
That is like, what the? I'm paying all this money to make $300 net a month, and then all of a sudden you're renting your property out every month, and then that tenant moves out, and then there's a big old bug problem or a leak under the fanny they don't want to tell you because they snuck a cat in. They want you to come to the property and know they have pets because you said no pets. Yep. Well, now that just ate up your $300 a month and more.
Yeah.
And now you're just like capitalizing on appreciation if your market's appreciating, right?
Yep. I love it.
So, these are all things to consider. So,
they are. I think it's amazing that you're sharing everything. I'm so thankful for you. Because there's so many people out there that struggle. It's hard to create a living sometimes and create a life of abundance. And here you are offering your secrets and your strategies. And I think it's an amazing thing. I thank you.
Like I said, going back to what I said before, if you can do anything, guys, take one takeaway from this live today is how can you capitalize on the deals that are coming across your desk? And again, it doesn't have to be Airbnb. Maybe it's a flip property, right? To make you 50, 60 grand or 100 grand, right? Yep. Maybe, right? Maybe it's a really good buy and hold, or just take advantage of the deals that are coming across your desk. And again, if you can't, maybe you can partner with somebody. If you can't, maybe you'll get there. You'll build up to that eventually. I had to build 2 years before the banks were even considering, and they took my average income. I'm sure you're 1099. So we both can relate. We can all relate. So I know everybody's pain points, and I've been there. And it's a sign of relief when you're making money when you're sleeping.
Heck yeah, I love it. Hey, Javier, how can everybody find you if they want to ask questions about how to get part of your program, become part of your program, or a student? How can they find you?
I'm actually going to put a link. Is that okay, Tricia?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. I'm going to put a link. Can I do it now or after?
Yeah, you can do it now, and then when it posts too, we can drop it in the comments there.
Okay, I'll do it.
Then it'll get shared everywhere.
Is that cool if I do it when everything posts? So what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to if you think this is right for you guys, and you think you really want to execute, I'm going to actually put a couple links in the comments. I'm going to put a value video in there. Watch my value video. It talks all about Airbnb. I go in way more in depth. It's a 45-minute video, so make sure you have a couple minutes on your hands. And if you really feel like it's for you and you want to skip that value video, I'm going to go ahead and put a link to my calendar in the comments. Once Tricia uploads this, make sure you guys schedule a call with me, a strategy session. Let's go over what your goals are. I want to figure out more about you guys. What your goals, what people's goals are and all that. Get familiarized where people come from and all that stuff. So I'll put that in, and once it posts, I'll put that in the comments, and then hopefully I get a couple people I can help. Right?
Absolutely, definitely. Thank you so much, Javier.
Awesome.
You guys have a great day.
Thank you so much, Tricia. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Bye, y'all.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.